Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker. Welcome to the show, y'all. Look, Shirley and Tim are in jail, right? They're really not in jail yet. They're being prepped to be put in a lineup, right? So they get put in the lineup. And the witness is brought into the room. Y'all know how it goes with this two-way glass. You know, the people in the lineup can't see them, but they can see them, right? So the witness is looking. She's looking at the people in the line. Some of them are officers and secretaries and all this and that. But Shirley and Tim are in the lineup, and she's looking at them. And she's just not sure because of what they had on. She didn't actually see their faces. So she just doesn't know. She doesn't know. So she's not sure. She don't want to say because she don't want to be wrong. She don't want somebody that was innocent to go to jail. So she tells them 3 or 4 times, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So they let her leave. And then they get them in the interrogation room. And let me tell y'all something. Time and time again, I tell y'all about this interrogation room. When they get them in that box, they put that light on them. Look here. If you've never been in there, you can say whatever you want to say. They're going to come with it. These people are trained to break you down. And they'll go as long as they need to break you down. And that's what happened. They got them in there. And Shirley, Shirley started talking. She started talking. She was laying out, but she never, for whatever reason, mentioned Sam. She just kept saying that she was sorry and that she knew it was a bad idea and she didn't want to do it, but her husband told her that it was a good idea and all of this and that and back and forth, and then they came with the arrest warrant and they placed both of them under arrest for robbery of a jewelry store. Yes. So they called Sam and they told Sam that they had the people that had robbed the place, but they had not recovered the property, the diamonds, all of the gold necklaces and bracelets and earrings, all of that kind of stuff. They hadn't recovered it, and that he would have to probably file an insurance claim. So he played his role. He acted like he was angry and upset and couldn't believe that it was them. And he kept asking, are you sure? Are you sure it's them? And they told him that she had confessed. And he said he couldn't believe it. He played his role to the T. Now they got both of them under arrest, right? And now it's time to get lawyers. They had some money, so Sam on the hustle side is getting them a lawyer and all this and that. The lawyer goes down there and tells me everything is going to be fine. He actually works for Sam and not them, even though that's not what it's supposed to be. You understand what I'm saying? Regardless of who's paying him, he's supposed to represent the client, but he's really representing the person that's paying him. You understand what I'm saying? It's just what it is. So they got down there and they questioned him, they're talking to him, and Shirley feels bad for breaking because Tim didn't. He didn't say a word. Now the state needs Shirley to implicate her own husband. And the lawyer is talking to her and explaining to her that she doesn't have to do that. But because she said some things, she's probably going to have to go to prison. Never been in any trouble before. Didn't want to do it. Her husband talked her into it. And she feels like she needs to be loyal to him because she's the one that messed up. She talked. So she ends up telling her lawyer to go get her a plea. Now this is after several months in jail because they decided not to make the bond because if they made the bond, then they were going to be out of money totally, and they wanted to make sure that they had something. So she didn't think that she would get much time because she'd never been in any trouble before. Maybe some probation, and Sam, the owner of the store, he wasn't tripping, and he was trying to talk to the DA, telling them they must have been under some kind of stress or whatever the case may be. But this particular DA wanted to send a message. It was an election year, and he wanted to send a message and let anybody know that was out there committing crimes that they could get it. Now, don't get it twisted. He wanted to apply as much pressure as he could because what Sam didn't know is that the DA's office had him under investigation, and they were looking cross-eyed at him because they were thinking, well, you know, they know each other, and they're a law-abiding citizen. And he's a drug dealer. Maybe he paid them to do this and all this and that, but they couldn't prove that. So they wanted to put as much pressure as they could on Shirley. So they upped the ante and said they were going to give her 8 years in prison. 8 years for somebody that never committed a crime? Oh my God, she broke down. She didn't think that she would be able to do 8 years. She was only 25 years old, y'all. 25 years old. And now she's facing being away from the man that she loves until she's 33 for something that she didn't want to do. She didn't want to do it. So along comes one of the women in the county jail with her. And she tells her, look, everything is going to be fine. Smoke this. She gives her a little joint. Now, you know, Shirley already smoked weed. So it helped ease her nerves and calm her nerves. So she smoked it and they became cool. And this woman was talking to her and telling her how everything was going to work out because she was a seasoned vet at this thing, right? And Shirley opened her mouth and started talking a little bit too much and telling this woman what really went down, right? And this woman, she wanted out. She wanted out. See, what she did, she put in a phone call to the DA. And she told the DA what had happened, right? Told the DA what had happened. The actual factual. She needed somebody to vent to get it all out to, somebody that she trusted, right? And why couldn't she trust her? She broke bread with her, smoked a joint with her. This is her friend now. She's all alone and vulnerable. So she opens up to her. So when Shirley calls home, she doesn't tell Tim what she had done. She's not even thinking about it, right? Because she has no clue that she's been betrayed. So when the DA comes down with her lawyer to talk to her, this lawyer that was paid by Sam, the DA don't know that though, they talk to her about making a deal and tossing Tim and Sam up, because why should she go to jail for 2 men, right? They try to manipulate her, play her to make her feel like they took advantage of her, and she got angry. So the DA opened up a little bit. Because see, while they were in there questioning her, that female that was in the county jail with her, they had already moved her to another part of the jail because now she was a state's witness. So the DA felt comfortable telling her, said, look, do you remember the lady that you talked to a week or so ago? She was like, yeah. And he mentioned her name to her. She's like, yeah, that's my friend. He said, good to know that because she told us everything that you told her. Now Shirley sat there with her eyes wide open, and now she started to cry. She was like, I can't win. Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? So she broke down. And in the midst of her breaking down, she got angry. And when she got angry, she found that resolve. And with that, she said, do whatever you're going to do to me. I have nothing to say to you or anybody else again. And she told her lawyer that she was done. She didn't want to talk to them anymore. She got up and she walked out. They took her back to her cell. Now her lawyer is looking at the DA, and he's telling the DA, look, let's work out something. This is not going to turn out the way you want. You can get Sam and these other people another time. But let's not do this to her. You can see that she's a victim. And the DA is looking at her. He wanted Sam and Tim because he was part of it, but he wanted Sam, but he knew that this wasn't enough. There was nothing connecting Sam to it other than this story. And he needed Shirley to get on the stand and say this, not necessarily the girl in the jail, this jailhouse informant. That wasn't enough to do it. So he made a deal. And he agreed to give her 6 years at 30%. And he wouldn't protest her parole. But she would have to take this deal before the week's out. So they left. And her lawyer came back and he spit the deal to her and she took it. Because she was angry, hurt, disappointed, and she was sad. But it was the best she was going to get. Sam was relieved. Tim was angry and hurt that he had put her in a situation like this, and his weed use became something that wasn't enough anymore. And he started to mess with a little cocaine, and Sam made sure they had as much cocaine as he needed, and he became addicted. Now Shirley, she's at the prison, and she's suffering and stressing and all this and that girl that was gonna turn against her ends up coming on the compound, and they end up getting to fight, and now all kinds of stuff is going on, and Shirley gets locked up in the hole, and now she's made a name for herself because people are looking at her like she ain't gonna play. She's becoming a vet behind the wall, y'all. She ain't taking nothing. She ain't taking nothing. So Tim, he gets on her visitation list, but he's got a habit, but he ain't all the way gone yet. He ain't got the runny nose yet, y'all. He ain't scratching. He ain't doing all that. His eyes ain't bloodshot like they would be if he was smoking all the time. He's still working and maintaining their apartment and all these type of things, but he's missing his wife. And let me tell you something. When he goes to visit her, they see the move. Get an officer a little cheese. He might let you slide on into the restroom. So Shirley sets it up. The officer, yeah. They slide him a little cheese. He turns his head. Shirley and Tim hit the restroom. They get it in, y'all. You know what I'm talking about? They get it in, right? Look here, it's been a long time. You feel me? Wait a minute. 2 weeks later, Shirley is pregnant. She's pregnant. Yeah, you heard me right. She's pregnant. But how's she gonna deal with this? She's in prison. So she goes to the infirmary and she tells the people that she thinks she's pregnant, and they immediately lock her down because they assume that somebody that worked there did it, but that's not what happened. That's not what happened. And she doesn't say anything about what happened, and they are getting at her, and they tell her they're not going to let her out until she tells them how this happened. See, back then it wasn't no cameras, and she had learned that every time she told the truth about something, she had to suffer for it. That was her experience, y'all. That was her experience, and other people got hurt from it. So she kept her mouth shut, didn't say anything. And after about a month or two in the back, they put her back in the general population on the compound. And the other girls had heard about her situation, and they were all doting over her like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because she was going to have a baby. And they wanted to be a part of that in any way they could. These are women. Some of them are already mothers and grandmothers. And they wanted to make sure she was safe and protected and taken care of so that this child would come out okay. But see, in prison, you don't get to keep the baby. No, you don't get to keep the baby. Either the child goes to a family member, which would be Tim, her husband, or in the foster care until she gets out, or maybe the child gets adopted. So she calls and she tells Tim that it's time. It's time. And he went through the proper procedures, and he ended up admitting to them that he was the one that had sex with her and all of these different types of things. So his visits were restricted and taken away for a while, you know what I'm saying? But they ended up getting him back because they wanted him to be able to bring the child, but he got custody of the child after she had the little boy. Had a little boy. And he named him Tim Jr. And Tim Jr. looked just like her. Looked just like his mother. And as an infant, she was taken by Tim Jr. Every time he would come to visit, she spent her time playing with him and getting him to, touch her face and hold her finger and all that kind of stuff, right? She loved her little boy, and she wanted to be with him. And a part of that, it meant that she had to stay out of trouble and all of that kind of, because if she got in trouble, she would lose her visit. She'd lose her visit, she can't see her child, And she did all of that. Whatever it took to be with Tim Jr., whatever it took. But see, Tim Sr., we'll say now, he's becoming more and more addicted to this cocaine. And he's fighting and he's holding it together. But it's not working. It's not working. And if you want to find out how this continues to play out, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode, right? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.